Virgination Dishnagas, Mayan Gondode.
Winji Baiwag, Odawa Zaga Inganin.
Ka matakiapi, Damien Wambly, we akawash dewi, makiapi.
Niake, Taba.
Hogi Hatewide, I they know.
How Kola.
Vipoande, Sengitamo.
Hoki Nixuko, Nistu Nidaniku Inistu Asiam Skapi Pikani.
Aya ewe malaka koke, niwaka tehe, niolaka koke, noga kaki.
Ha, Mitakiapi. Hello, my relatives. Gwen Westerman, Amakiapi. My name is Gwen Westerman. Damakota. I am Dakota. Atayam Minnesota Makoche, Dakota Iapi. All over Minnesota, Dakota is spoken. Minnesota, Dakota Makoche. Minnesota is our homeland. Chatayetu Yahibikin Washte. It's good you are all here this evening.
Our words are not our own. We never speak alone. Our work is not our own. We never work alone. Anin Indenwe Maganidok, Buju Nijinishinabedok, Hyderdrick Indigenikaz, Majig Indigo, Miigwech Anishinaabe Queg, Margaret Newton, Kim Wensat. It's a beautiful thing to hear the languages of our people spoken. It's a wonderful thing to hear the words that teach us everything we need to do to make beauty in this world. And I'm especially grateful, as we all are, to be welcomed by our Dakota sister today to this place that they found when they came from the stars to call it home. Our song of welcome, Woman Earth, includes a fourth verse which we'd like you to join along in. Miigwech, First Peoples Fund. First words are art, beauty and use and beauty. This way we come home. Beauty and use and beauty. Our first words, her song. This way of woman, earth.
My name is Ron Martinez, looking out. Good evening, everybody. My Indian name that I just said is Lake You Can See in the Mist, Pahuepoyu. We're so grateful for you to be here this evening. Welcome, everybody. This is my brother in arms tonight, David.
Bonjour! Oh, wrong language. Wash day! Chicago.
Hey.
My name's David Knoyer. Thank you for joining us. Who was here 2 years ago? All right, 2 years ago I was playing this role, and then I had a midlife crisis, and I went to the store. My daughters are out there, and they've coached me through this whole transformation.
Your
Thank
mom's
you,
gonna
girls.
be mad you ruined a good coat.
But we're so glad that you're here. We were joking about how did we get this gig? How did we get this gig? I know I got it because I'm here. I had no travel costs. I don't know how Ron got it. But we're also happen to be board members of First Peoples Fund. And as such, when I saw the constellations and the stars, I think that's what I think of the organization as, is this network, this solar system, if you will. And Ron and I have known each other almost 20 years, although we're not that old. We were joking, are you uncle, or are you going to be brother, or who's older here?
He's older.
I don't know, we're going to have a vote at the end of the show, who's older. But anyhow, thank you for joining us. First Peoples Fund is all about artists, but art is so much more, right, than a performance. There's language, as you heard. There's creativity. There's culture. There's the past, and there's the forward. And Ron himself is an artist, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I just recently started back to school at the Institute of American Indian Arts. I graduated from there in '93, and I'm back again as a full-time student. But this artist life that we live is such an interesting dynamic that we are. It's who we are. There's no real, like in Indian, there's no real description of what being an artist is. It's a way of life. And I know my Auntie Jody's out there. Not my real auntie, but my auntie. And she truly lives that lifestyle. So we're just so fortunate that we could be part of an organization that celebrates that celebration of artist life and thought and the process of being an artist. Being an artist is so much more than selling a piece. It's about the creativity of it. And you become the person that gives life to something, but it also brings life to you, your community, and your family. So we're very, very fortunate that we could be here and present this very, very special evening with you all tonight.
So one of the art forms literally is language, right? We heard our opening performers sing with us, but it's not just about a spoken word or a sung word or a written word. Language really is the expression, right, of who we are, our values. It's the medium for these lifeways. And so our first honoree tonight, that is his life. And when I see that solar system, I see our artists, our change makers as that star, and around them, right, are more stars that they're trying to help shine brighter in a number of ways. Anton Troyer has devoted his life to the Ojibwe language and all that means. He's a speaker, a singer. He's for 18 years been a lodge chief, and he shares deep ties with Ojibwe across the Upper Plains, from Ontario to Montana to North Dakota and the Great Lakes. As a professor and director of the American Indian Resource Center at Bemidji State University, it isn't unusual for Dr. Troyer, Tony, to introduce himself as a scholar who teaches in a foreign language, and by that, he means English.
In spite of 500 really hard years and many obstacles, I am amazed not by what we've lost, but by what we still have. And the talent and the toolbox that we were given by our ancestors really inspires me.
That's in front of where Grandpa Bob's house is now.
Looking at my childhood, I'd be a pretty unlikely candidate to be doing most of the things that I'm doing today. I had a childhood that was very different from a lot of Native people. My father is an Austrian immigrant and Holocaust survivor. My mother's Native from Leech Lake. Kind of grew up with a foot in both worlds. My mother was on a a life journey of her own, reconnecting to traditional Ojibwe culture and ceremonies, and I was drug along for a lot of that.
Here, look down here, that's making maple syrup.
Who's that?
That's me.
More than many people, I did have strong connections, but I wouldn't say that I valued anything I'd been taught or learned until after I left home and really got tested in not just being an Indian in the room, but being the Indian in the room, where I really started to challenge myself and think differently about the importance of things like language and culture. I came back home and ended up living with a medicine man who operated exclusively in Ojibwe. I think a lot of the deepening of my knowledge and of my interest in it really happened as part of living with Archie Mose. He was 96 years old. When I met him, he was sitting in a modern house watching WWF SmackDown on a TV. And, I walked in with a bunch of gifts and kind of nervous to ask some questions, and he said, "I've been waiting for you." Apparently he had a dream about me, and based upon that, he started to share things that maybe he was just kind of waiting for the right opportunity. And now I've been training a cadre of people here in the legends and speeches for these ceremonies, and they've never met him, but they're saying his words. They're singing his songs, just like Archie was with his fathers all the way back. The powers of publishing books is you can reach people in an urban area. You can reach people in many different communities. You can preserve the words of people across time and space. And to me, that grows the community of those that you work with. I ended up seeking out and recording, transcribing, translating a lot of eloquent Ojibwe-speaking elders.
Oh.
Anton spent a lot of time wandering around with a digital recorder, gathering all this up. And that gave us chunks that we wouldn't have. They're pages of history.
All right, so we'll play a little bit of Eugene here. The horses were numerous. They were all over the place. And they watched over us. I feel very honored by the award. To me, it reflects upon all of my teachers, all of the people still working very hard in our communities to keep these things going. Sometimes we really need hope. The future vitality of the Ojibwe language, it's not certain, but it is possible.
When Dr. Troyer began his journey with the wrestling fan, one of the first places he looked was west to Hawaii, because the Native Hawaiians for 2 generations or more now have been really revitalizing their language and have helped us in the state, in the 48, really learn from them. In the 1800s, Native Hawaiians had schools, dictionaries, all in their written language. It literally was a very formal system of built on Native Hawaiian language. And of course, when colonization happened and statehood happened, a lot of that was wiped out. In the 70s and 80s, the Hawaiian people started to revitalize their language, beginning with the little ones, right? And it began to really change a lot of things, not only their self-esteem and identity, but literally their education system, as little ones would grow up learning the deep meaning in the language. One of those culture bearers and warriors of the culture and language is Vicky Holt Takamini, who holds the venerated title of Kuma Hula, that is a master of hula dance. She also was a 2013 Community Spirit Award honoree. Vicky's here tonight with dancers from her halau, Pua Ali'i Alima.
No, ana hea tu ai kana hele ia lai e te tio ho ko. O na ki no malu I kalani malu e hoi. E ho ulu mai ana o laki kona mau kahu. O mako no, o mako no. Ku kapu no hula I ka moana hele kai uki kaina. O lapa kauila no I Tahiti, uina na kolo watapi he. Lau kanaka kahula e la kai. O kai kalama kahikina me kaua hele no kukai. Amaina iwa me hiaka me kapola kai kaule hive. Ne maina iwa mapuala make alo kapoke aiwa hina. O ino e kume na ali e la mako amaola Aina ia mai Hawaii. We honor his wife, Kake'olani, with his next mele.
Mahalo, Auntie Vicky, for that beautiful mele and all the blessings that you brought from us all the way from Hawaii Nei. I was lucky I was at the East West Center as an intern many, many moons ago, and I lived in Hawaii, and I got to dance for a gentleman called Uncle Eddie Ogawa. And there was a point in my Hawaiian career that I got to dance for Auntie Vicky just for like 2 minutes, but I get to say that she's one of my kumu. So I'm very honored that we could bring her all the way this way and honor her again on this stage. It was a year ago, around the springtime. I can't even remember. I'm like the Indian Forrest Gump. I find myself in different places and beautiful places doing crazy things. But there was a point in time we were with Auntie Vicky and honoring her in the community in Honolulu, and it was such a beautiful time to get together with the people, her family, the whole ohana, everybody there that really took the time out to come and just show her all their love and appreciation for all the things that she's done for the community. Auntie Vicky is such an extraordinary woman, and her halau, there's many, many more dancers out there that it's just incredible what she does with human rights and our activism back on the island. So we're so grateful to have her here. But as we say that, I want to introduce one of my colleagues, Miran Walker, who's going to tell you a little bit more about that Aloha experience and some other experiences we've had throughout the nation.
One of my favorite parts of the Community Spirit Awards is the opportunity to attend events to honor our artists in their home communities across the country. I thought you'd enjoy a few postcards from our travels in 2013. Ah, beautiful Hawaii. Ocean breezes, the scent of fresh flowers, and breathtaking sunsets. We got a sneak preview of Vicky Takamini's artistry, and we also honored the legendary slack key guitarist, Cyril Pahinui. On that day, in Honolulu, Cyril's performance brought the entire audience to its feet, and the ceremony brought many different cultures together. Sunflowers bursting yellow on the prairie. The Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa gathered to celebrate a red willow basket weaver and a birch bark biter. Georgiana Houle was praised for embedding grace and artistry in everything, from picnic baskets to how she teaches others the weaving she learned from her grandparents. Denise Lajmodir is an artistic triple threat. She performs as a jingle dress dancer in regalia she designs for herself and for others. Denise has also mastered the ancient Ojibwe practice of biting, using her eye teeth to create intricate designs on translucent sheets of birch bark. Both of these women were as humbled by the Community Spirit Award recognition as we were humbled by their artistry and generosity. From the center of the U.S. mainland, we traveled by plane and boat north to native village of Afognac's Dig Afognak campsite to honor Susan Malutin. A sewer of furs and fish skins, Susan spent years learning how to make clothing in the traditional way and how to speak her almost extinct Afognak language. Now, Susan's students hang on to her every word during language classes. And at the Community Spirit Award honoring, they stood up one by one to tell their teacher just how much she means to them and the difference she makes in their lives. Our bellies are full again, this time fish and corn on the eastern coast of the Penobscot Nation. But more than that, our minds and hearts are full, as drums and voices offer gratitude for traditional musician Wadey Akins. He's handing down ceremonies and songs to a new generation on the Penobscot Reservation. Standing next to Wadey, his current apprentices spoke about their mentor not just as a musician and teacher, but as a role model and friend. And at every honoring event, whether on reservations or in urban centers, we at First Peoples Fund are constantly reminded that all the honorees illustrate the essence of the Community Spirit Award by sharing inspiration, wisdom, knowledge, and gifts to strengthen and sustain their communities.
Wow, Denise, a triple threat, huh? The J-Lo of Indian country. You wait till you see her put on the dress later. Hey, just kidding, Denise. Don't put on that dress. Hey.
Miranne sounds like one of those people that should do the airline videos, you know, the safety, you know. Very nice voice.
Great voice. She actually back home she does commercials to sell cars, so she's perfect. Yeah, there's Miranne. She's all trying to hide. So we want to talk to you now about what is the whole idea behind the concept, the idea behind what is community spirit. And for me, it's really the spirit in which we give ourselves selflessly, and especially the honorees tonight and the former honorees are the recipients of the Community Spirit Awards. It's all of the community, really. I wish we could give it to everybody. I sit on the selection committee of the Community Spirit Awards, and the cool thing about it is you read many, many beautiful things about the way people are giving back to their community, and you wish you had an award for everybody. We just don't have that opportunity, but one of the most beautiful things we can do is to honor our communities by giving back. And that is so important for our cultural survival. Native peoples, we don't have to be honored every day, and that's what I love about, excuse me, the people in the audience here that are being honored, because they really don't want this. It's something that we have to do so that they can continue on as long as we have them here with us in our community, so that we can cherish them and honor them before they're long gone and we can only remember them. So this is really about you all and having that gift of that spirit of aloha and that community spirit of generosity. So thank all of you, and that's just from the bottom of our hearts, from all of us at the First Peoples Fund family.
And that certainly sums up our next honoree, Delbert Miller. My analogy of Ben Franklin, right? All the things that Ben Franklin did, Delbert Miller has many of those titles as well, as we'll learn in a minute. His tribal people refer to him by his tribal name, Smutkum, and he inherited the role of culture bearer from his uncle, Bruce Miller. Bruce was an iconic figure among the Skokomish, and it must have been a little hard walking in his footsteps. But Delbert has done so, and he speaks with humility about the task of taking on that mantle. By profession, Delbert is a chemical dependency counselor, but you'll see that he wears many more hats. He's a carver, a singer, a leader. He helps people heal themselves in his doctoring, and he's a trusted friend of many tribes outside the Coast Salish Sea there, They live very close to Olympia, north of Olympia. Earlier this year, First Peoples Fund was there when the local community honored Delbert. And as you saw in the postcard, the local events have their own flavor. That night, Delbert's second grade teacher showed up to see what became of that little boy she once taught. Others in the audience were really kind of wowed by how much he's accomplished, right? Because none of the people in the first row toot their own horn and have a PR person other than a good partner, like Tina's pretty good PR person for Delbert. But as you'll see in this story about Delbert, wait till you see the garage where he works. You'll see the smokehouse in the community where culture, community, spirituality come to life. But wait till you see Delbert's garage. It's part workshop, it's part cultural assembly line, and it even feels like a church.
Welcoming you to the House of Slanai. Thanking you for coming to our house.
The Longhouse is a gathering place for the Skokomish tribe, as well as a healing home.
This is a place where we bring to life spirits.
I'm really for this house and what it brings to our family and to our community, because it helps stand us up where we belong. We can take care of ourselves and be prepared for anything.
If the Spirit lives in this house, in prayers and traditions, in songs and shared rhythms, the architect making sure it's built right is Delbert Miller.
We have somebody that still watches what all the other little roles are doing, you know, and so that neutral observer is somebody that, our go-to guy, and somebody that has the kind and humble heart.
Carrying a stew of seafood to share, Miller leads by example. He knows people are watching and learning. So show me, he says, don't tell me.
He gets things done without having to use that aggressiveness. He gets things done because people want to be there. He gets things done because he lives by example and there's people following him. And I admire him very much.
I've watched Smatkum. He's teaching the young people at Skoke. He's trying to instill some of his breath into them, just like his uncle shared his breath with all the Skokomish people.
Delbert picked up and carried the role that Uncle left behind. And so he spent a lot of time in the Longhouse with him, in the Skokomish Longhouse, listening and learning those ways. Delbert is the continuation of that thread, you know, that cultural fabric, the collective spirit.
This is a cormorant, and this one is a loon. And they'll be facing each other, and they'll have paintbrushes in their mouth. These would be stood in front of the house for people to come and see. As soon as they see it, they would know then, well, he must have earned a right to have these, because you can only own them the old way if you have been trained. And so he's going to be doing an elk ceremony. These are what we're working with our children to understand a lot of this is about songs. That's what is so important about our culture, to be trained in this. Stuphastula, what we call, means to remember the ancient law, how to train the people, what are these laws, where the village sites were, the language, all of the ceremonies, the songs, the history, identity, family trees. Patya Aqua, Atishla Albid, means our family tree way back, the gifts that go along in the family. If we don't teach the children, it will be our fault if there's a whole generations of empty children that go without. And that's a frightening thing to think about.
That's the sign of a true leader, somebody who leads by example, and a leader who wants to make more leaders, not followers, and that's Delbert Miller.
Through his art and his leadership, Delbert Miller helps people stand up for themselves, finding firm cultural footing. His show-me style is as soft and gentle as his power and impact are subtle.
Great is my gift from my spirit, my power. Great is my gift.
Mr. Miller, uncle, a new uncle, in our presence tonight. So would you please help me in celebrating this gentleman, Delbert Miller. As we go along in the years and the First Peoples Fund grows, we always are adding new family members, and that's just not our new aunties and uncles and our relatives that we see every day in our communities who are doing such beautiful work, but it's all of you folks out there who are helping to support and keep the First Peoples Fund alive. So we have many people like from the Ford Foundation, lots of aunties and uncles out there among you who are related to us in ways that that relationship is about responsibility. And that responsibility to us is really about who we are and how we take care of each other. And it's reciprocal, that we give back to you as well. So this is a way of giving back, but really it's honoring those partnerships that we've created throughout the years, over the years, and for years to come. So thank you for your generosity, your support. This isn't over. I just want to make sure that you all know that, good night, guys. No, just kidding. That this is really about you all. This celebration is to honor our folks here, but it's really to bring you all into and embrace you all as well and say thank you very much.
It's time for another performance. Wade Fernandez was a 2010 Community Spirit Award recipient. Wade is from the Menominee Nation, 4 hours east of here, really close to Lambeau Field, but we won't mention that. Wade is a youth advocate, a brother with a bunch of siblings, a father, counselor, producer, and Frank Juan is a younger member of our family. Frank is from the same tribe that I'm from, Rosebud Sioux, and I want to be Frank when I grow up. Maybe I'm going backwards so that I can be him one day. Frank's a musician, a Gates Millennium Scholar, and I think one of his most famous titles back home is Rosebud Head Start Poster Child. I've seen those posters, Frank. Anyhow, welcome to the stage, Frank Juan and Wade Fernandez.
Listen, hear the elders call. Ancestors are speaking now. Let those voices come through proud. Share community spirit.
Check.
Yo, Nakato Management Kikite.
How are you feeling, Community Spirit Award? I said, how are you feeling, Community Spirit Award? Yeah, I'm a bearer of the culture. I wear it with pride. Testament to ancestors who survived genocide. Historically, they tried to kill us, to conquer, divide. But now we're standing on the stage to let them know we alive. Yeah, it's it's you and me. Fluently speaking to our communities, influencing that change we need. Bring opportunity, do it for one, nah, we do it for all. Do it for our ancestors who make sure we won't fall, yeah.
Lay a morning offering down. Every morning breaking ground. I'm gonna stand up and be proud, 'cause I know that I owe everything to you. Community spirit and love, 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 love. Community spirit and love, 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 love. Community spirit and love.
Alright, let's see if we can turn up the energy a little bit more this time around. I said, how are you feeling, Community Spirit Award?
Yo, check out the words of my nephew Franco here.
With the world we share our gifts, weaving tapestries of love. We're the answers to the prayers our ancestors were speaking of. Prophecies how times will change, now I feel it in my heart. Building bridges, we exchange the stories we put in our art. We're the example of how our culture grows and lives. Let that fire burn so we could pass it on to our kids. Man, it saved my life, that's why I gotta give. Now watch our people dream, now watch our people live.
Lay a morning offering down. Every morning breaking ground. We're gonna stand up and be proud, 'cause I know that we owe everything to you.
If you're feeling way right now, I need you all to clap.
Love, 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 love.
Everyone, let's get way out
Community spirit and love, 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 love. Community spirit and love, 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 love. Community spirit and love, 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 love. Let's hear you sing.
Now, when I say love, I need you all to say love right after me, okay? Let's try it. Love. Love. That's about a 6, so we get that to an 8 maybe, at least an 8. Love. 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 On top, love. Love. Love.
Community provides us our identity. Let's reach out now beyond these walls. Community spirit and love, 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 love. Community spirit and love, 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 love.
Need you all to make some noise for Wade Fernandez.
But our next honoree also pushes limits. Jody Naranjo Falwell Taripa wears multiple hats. She's been in education, she's an activist, and I hear she's a friend of Res Dogs. But if you all know Native American pottery, you probably have seen Santa Clara pottery and its very iconic black look to it. After an early career in education, Jody returned to her Santa Clara Pueblo home in New Mexico to create pottery and to help on the family ranch. Throughout all of her life, she's been an activist, championing the rights of women, voting rights, and breaking new ground in her art form. Jody traces family values and heritage back to her great-grandmother, who was known in Santa Clara as Corn Mother. She learned the rigorous practice of Santa Clara pottery from her mother Rose. And today, the Falwell lineage extends to Jody's daughters, Polly, Rose, and Susan, who are respected potters in their own right, and to their daughters, Jody's granddaughters. probably grandsons too. At this time, I'd like our next honoree, Jody Naranjo Falwell Taripa, to please rise so that we can acknowledge you. Thank you. Jody believes every pot has a song to sing. Some of her pots reverberate with the voices of her Tewa ancestors. Some carry distinctly contemporary melodies, and others, well, they have tunes never heard before.
When I saw the award announcement, I immediately thought of Jody Falwell. She really took that clay and she modeled it in a way that would tell the world about her community, about herself, in a way that no one else had done it.
I always go back to the root of pottery because it's important for you to see and feel the structure and the making of the pots. All of the old people didn't have the tools that I have now to be able to balance a piece, to actually make the piece in the manner that they made it. And then you start thinking about the spiritual aspect of the whole process. And I am so convinced that it had to take other spiritual forces to be able to do it.
When I think about Jody Falwell and the influence she's had on Pueblo potters over the last 20 or 30 years, I really do think about innovation. Now, when you use a word like innovation, it sounds like something that someone grabs from the outside and brings into the potting world. But what Jody did is that she reached deep inside of the pottery world itself. I think about 1984. She made a pot that was just extraordinary. It was a beautifully made, what we'd say, traditional pot in every way. People were used to seeing black pottery from Santa Clara at that point. And she decided that she'd use a green slip that she also found on Santa Clara land. And then she worked with Bob Houses, and they etched onto the pot cowboys and Indians. And they were chasing around the pot. At judging then at Indian Market, which at that time was a real barometer of what was acceptable and what was not acceptable, in walks this green pot. And there was that pot and a beautiful black pot as well that year. And the pottery judges were literally split down the middle. The great thing was the green pot won, and the world didn't end. And the following year at Indian Market, everybody had green pots.
What they say in our village when I was growing up is, Bikagetnang. With all your heart and with your soul, you need to reach out and help others.
Gee,
Fire clouds on that. It's
that
just
is
beautiful,
gorgeous.
isn't it?
That is, yeah. You are a major part of breaking that groundwork for the next generation of people like me and Susan and all of the contemporaries.
I have done a lot of political pieces. I don't give it much thought in terms of how people see me. The only thing that concerns me is what I think is important for me to discuss with myself, who I am and how I see things.
I would describe Jody as strong-willed and feisty. I think she might agree with me. And she has fought very hard for herself, for her family, for women. Through her pottery, then, people have known much more about the way that Pueblo communities govern themselves and asked pottery, through her work in it, to be a voice, to be her voice and her family's voice.
What will be even more exciting is to see the next generation after this generation that is working in contemporary art, because by that time that will be traditional, and it's going to be really exciting to see what's going to happen within the third generation after my group has come and gone.
I don't know how you follow that, but I'll try. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bud Lane, and I come from the Siletz Indian Reservation in Western Oregon. And it's my pleasure to be here tonight to be part of this 2014 Community Spirit Awards ceremony. I was honored to be a awardee recipient in 2010, and it's great to be here and be part of this really worthy enterprise. Like most Native artists, it's just something, our artwork is something that we do, and it's just part of our makeup. It's really part of who we are. So recognition itself can be a little overwhelming for a lot of folks. The town I come from, the town of Siletz, doesn't even have a stoplight in it, and so coming to Minneapolis is a pretty big deal for someone like me. The medium that I've always worked in is basketry, and I was lucky enough a long time ago when I was much younger to have a Siletz master weaver take the time to teach me about baskets and the plants we make them from. And her name was Gladys Muschamp, and sadly she'd been gone for about 15 years now. And whether Gladys intended to or not, she had her own way about teaching. But in addition to teaching me to weave, she taught me that I had a bigger responsibility to do what I could to preserve our art form, and because it's really threatened. Being one of her proteges amongst my own people, it gave me a certain standing and certain notoriety, but it also heaped a lot of responsibility on me. And being a Community Spirit Award recipient is the same in a lot of ways. And that recognition by your peers on the national level is a great honor, and it's hard to describe. The award is really your reward for caring and for nurturing your art form amongst your own people in your community. And as you've seen so far tonight, this year's group of awardees, they're just awesome. And their talents and their commitments to their peoples and communities, it's really hard to put into words. In our local communities, and even regionally and nationally, sometimes we don't take the time to stop long enough and see all of the great artwork and all the work that's being done around us. Even in the rural areas, life can be hectic these days. Everyone's connected and plugged in and Facebooked and iPhoned, and all the kids are sitting there working on their iPods and pads, and I'm just as guilty as the next person in wanting those types of things. But I can tell you from long experience that we all get complacent, and we just assume that the great things that all of these folks and a lot of other folks in the country do, that they'll continue on. We just assume that. And we have to work at what we do, and we must continually work with our young folks to be our replacements. I have an elder back home that has always asked me that. Her name's Catherine Harrison. She always says, "Bud, who's your replacement?" And I was thinking, God, Catherine, don't get hasty here. We're not but it certainly doesn't matter which discipline you work in. If you're not teaching and instructing the up-and-coming generation, you're heading over a cliff at some point. And everyone at some point, and to some degree, has received that teaching from someone. And most of us, at some point, we have to move beyond, and we've had people inspire us to move beyond learning and practicing the arts for our own enjoyment, and take on the responsibility of making sure that our traditions, our ways, and our art forms are there for the next generation, and for those generations yet to come into the world. So the Community Spirit Award is recognition of that leap, that departure from practicing to teaching and promoting our culture and arts in our respective tribes and reservations and communities. Recognition through the award in many cases is something that's really long overdue, and you could see that tonight. And most folks have been doing their work for all their lifetime. But doing a good thing is never too late. And I can tell you from my own personal experience as an awardee that being selected out of the many great nominees that there are every year, and there are lots of them that are really worthy. It's a great honor on the national level, and that recognition can and does lead to further advancement of an artist's work and initiatives. So at this time, I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing the next video segment. It's on two past fellow Community Spirit Award recipients who've gone on to assist other Native artists grow and sustain their arts businesses. And I have a connection to both of these somewhat. Menominee musician Wade Fernandez, who was just up a little bit ago, was a fellow Community Spirit Award recipient the year I also received the award. But the reason I felt another connection to him is that the Menominee tribe, along with my tribe and many others across the country, they were targeted by the United States government in the 40s and 50s, the Eisenhower administration's policies of termination. And the Menominee were the first tribe in the country to actually go and defeat that bill and get another one passed that restored them to federal recognition. And my people, the Confederate Tribes of Siletz, were the second. So I always, whenever I see a Menominee person, I have this bond with them that I really can't explain. And of course, Wade is just a fantastic musician and artist in his own right anyway, so. And also this video is about Penobscot basket maker Teresa Secord. And she's one of the individuals who founded the Maine Indian Basket Makers Association. And I've had history with her. I serve on the board of the Northwest Native American Basket Weavers Association, so we're in contact from time to time over the years. And two organizations that do the same thing but are about as far apart as you can possibly get on the continent. But I've had the pleasure of working with her in the past, and so let's take a look. Let's see what we got here.
Wake up. We are alive. We are surviving. And we must pass this on.
The Community Spirit Award really was my introduction to First Peoples Fund. I really didn't know anything existed out there like that. As an artist, you struggle trying to feed your family and trying to feed the muse, I guess. And it seems like you have a really hard time trying to do both.
I feel like there's nothing like being recognized by other Indigenous people. There's a deep understanding there, there's a deep appreciation that really comes from nowhere else. We had lost so many elders in our organization the first 10 years of trying to save our own ash and sweetgrass basketry weaving traditions. And the honoring came at the point where we had realized that we had lowered the average age of basket makers as a group from 63 to 40, and we had increased members to 200 plus. So together as a group, we had brought forward a whole new generation of ash and sweetgrass basket makers.
When the Community Spirit Award came in, all of a sudden I saw there was these other opportunities to develop your art and get them to the community in a structured way, in a way that you had some financial support, some resource support, and with that you start to plan and you start to execute things. So in one way it put a business sense to my art where I can share it a little more wisely so it gets back to the community.
Wade and Teresa have both stayed a part of the First Peoples Fund family by taking on roles as trainers in the organization's business development programs. They provide their artistic and entrepreneurial skills in training imbued with the values of generosity, compassion, and reciprocity.
Something that's happened for generations in tribes is passing on our knowledge to next generations. And there's first an enormous sense of responsibility. And that's what I love about First Peoples Fund is that our passing on of what we learn and our values-based system and our values-based approach is very parallel and related to, this same responsibility.
Going in and working with artists is going to be a new challenge, but I also have a lot of confidence because being an artist and seeing how other artists are around the world and growing up on the reservation, I feel like I have some things I can offer, and I'm really looking forward to giving it with all my heart because this will be like
coming to family and saying, I have a feast to share with you, and I know you're bringing your own food to this feast, so let's leave feeling full and hungry for the next one.
We didn't get to give Bud Lane applause too, so how about a round of applause for Bud Lane? Seeing Teresa's basket making work reminded me of being at Bud's house, and his garage, Delbert, Bud's garage is just his storage area, because I thought the basket making was, you saw the woman weaving the stuff, right? Bud's like, no, 80% of basket making is going to find it and finding it at the right time and then having it, when you need it, right? And I can imagine, we didn't do video for Bud, but his workshop, Bud's workshop, is his lazy boy. So Delbert wasn't too crazy about us being in his garage either. He said, this doesn't look, clean enough. Over the past 15 years, we've been privileged to honor 75 different stars, heroes, artists with the Community Spirit Award. Sadly, 10 of those have passed on. Many of them were revered elders, others left far too soon, but their spirit lives on in the work they created and the lives they touched.
We have a term in my language we call Wazadad. It's our true form of wealth. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with riches. It's the knowledge of the culture of our people, of our laws, of our ceremonies, of the importance of color, of the names of our ancestors back to the beginning of time.
I create art in an effort to explore the human spirit and to heal the wounded spirits of our people. I hope that my art serves to depict strong images of women, of nature, and men in order to recapture memory. Perhaps when we remember our clan families, our relationship to Mother Earth and to each other, our art and cultural attributes will in time regenerate.
I want to mention all my Navajo in-laws. They kept me on the red road when I fell off it quite a few times and healed me with ceremonies and love and support. Because of ceremonies, that's why we're still here. Mightiest nation in the world tried to exterminate us, but we're like that Energizer bunny. We keep going and going and going. And I think the Energizer bunny must be native because he's got that little hand drum.
Please welcome the President of First Peoples Fund, Lori Poirier, and Board Chairperson, Sherry Salaway Black.
Remembering when Alois Cabal and when 2010, Gabby Strong and some of us were up front, and she called me the little bunny, energized bunny. And so we left with Charlie there, and I just feel so grateful that those individuals really have contributed so much to all of us, to all of our communities, and we honor them for their generosity, and they're the individuals that really help us continue to carry on this good work and to be there for the younger generation, like Frank and others, and Gabino, who will be coming up. So, and Wade's 2 children who are here with us, and Carol Howe's grandchildren are here, and Jennifer Easton. So the family continues, Plamaya. In 2003, while receiving her recognition and honor as a Community Spirit Award recipient, Dolores Churchill Ahaida in turn recognized FPF with one of the highest honors to the Lakota people, the Eagle Feather. 3 Eagle Feathers were gifted to us in spirit of responsibility to acknowledge our present, our past, the elders who came before us, and always with the intent of considering our future generations and all that we do. Collective spirit is the human spirit that provides an awareness and sense of responsibility to sustain the culture fabric at the community level. These are our guiding principles at First Peoples Fund, and the spirit from which our work supports each other. And I know most of the stories you heard tonight demonstrate that. And Wade and Frank, wherever you are, you guys just really moved us with that song, and we wanted to say thank you so much. That was so beautiful, and we now have our own song, so we're going to have a CD next. So the 3 feathers are a reminder of our responsibility, and one which we take seriously. Plamaya, Opila Tanka.
As a longtime FOL, which is friend of Lori, supporter and board member, I've watched First Peoples Fund. We did start out together at First Nations, that's why I said that. I've watched First Peoples Fund grow from humble beginnings to what I think is the country's most authentic, innovative, and effective artist development organization for Native peoples. We've served more than 1,200 artists in almost 100 communities. Our programs honor those who help us sustain our culture through their wisdom. We also recognize the importance and the potential for emerging artists, those who are on the cusp of creating art which will help sustain themselves, their families, and their communities. First Peoples Fund provides values-based training and technical assistance for individual artists, for nonprofit art service organizations, and we do that in partnership with Native Community Development financial institutions. First Peoples Fund is energetic, often rambunctious, or like the Energizer Bunny, as Lori says, willing to take creative risks and constantly learning and questioning. As a 15-year-old Native nonprofit, we never forget where we've come from. We never forget our roots. We cherish the wisdom of our elders who help guide us as we move forward, and I look forward to that future very much. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our very special guest tonight, the Mayor of Minneapolis, the Honorable Betsy Hodges.
Well, thank you all very much, and first, welcome to Minneapolis for those of you who are not from here, and welcome again to those of you who are, because I think we are all getting to see ourselves and our community in the broadest sense in a whole new way tonight, which is an extraordinary gift, one of many that the First Peoples Fund has given us. And I think being here tonight, especially on Monday, the city of Minneapolis celebrated for the first time Indigenous Peoples Day. And make no mistake, that is a great point of pride for me as mayor and for our city as a whole. That now we have an entire day to acknowledge and to reflect upon the incredible gifts given to us by Indigenous peoples and what we are doing together to create our community moving forward. It was a big day. And to be here tonight to think in specific about the arts and the creativity of people moving forward. I know that as we talk about language, as we talk about making art, as we talk about making baskets, as we talk about singing, as we talk about dancing, those things are about more than words. They are about more than movement. They are more than dancing movement even. They are surer and closer ways into touching the indescribable and the untouchable, that when we get closer to it, when we can speak to that spirit, we all can touch one another more deeply in our hearts, and it is, I think, the only way we are going to be able to move forward together well in this world. So it is right that we are here tonight honoring the creativity and the arts. And I appreciate very much the First Peoples Fund for bringing us all together here. I want to congratulate our winners and say thank you so much for what you have given to me and to the community at large. Congratulations, congratulations and thank you. And to our performers tonight as well for helping us all together yet again come to a place where we can touch the mysterious or get at least a little bit closer. So welcome again to Minneapolis. It is a great pride to be here, and I look forward to the rest of the evening with all of you. Thank you.
First Peoples Fund believes through the creative power and beauty of artistic work and the depth of relationships in the community, our honorees bring healing and renewal to American Indians. Douglas Limon will tell you that he knows that in his heart. And Douglas means that quite literally. He's experienced the power of art to heal on a personal basis. It's been a critical factor in restoring his own physical health. Yet he's also come to understand that using his Oneida culture and his art to create bridges between Indian people and non-natives alike can have an equally significant impact in renewing the spirit of community.
When I was 5 years old, I wanted to learn how to bead, and so my mother taught me how to bead on a loom. It's in the DNA. It's just something that I was just attracted to it when I saw it, and I wanted to learn it, and my mother took the time to teach me.
Doug is a natural educator. He's a very humble person, but he's very willing to share his knowledge with anybody that's willing to learn.
Bandolier Bag Project was a project that was set up to make 2 bandolier bags. One bandolier bag was going to be made by the community, and one bandolier bag was going to be made by me. The bandolier bag, they would typically wear them for special meetings or special occasions. Traditionally, you would make 2 bandolier bags so that if you met somebody that didn't have one, you would give them one. We did the community bandolier bag first, and we had over 400 people work on the bandolier bag. People were very enthusiastic about it, and they were coming down to bead. They would call us up. We had a Facebook page. We're going to use the bandolier bag as an educational tool. So like when we go to schools, we'll bring both the bandolier bag I did and the community bandolier bag.
One of the exhibits that we started developing a few years ago, which means we move and we stay in Dakota and Ojibwe, and it's to highlight continuity and change of Indigenous people in Minnesota over time. I knew that he had done this beautiful cradle board, and I instantly thought of that as we were thinking about these ideas of continuity and change.
My youngest son, when he was born, we wanted him to put him in a cradle board, and we couldn't find anybody to teach us how to make a cradle board. My grandparents on both sides were products of boarding school, so because of forced cultural assimilation, My parents weren't in the cradle board.
He sought out people in his own home community and then these historic collections to learn from them, and then also thinking about how he could make those in a way that's reflective of today. One of the things I found most interesting about Doug's cradleboard was the use of backpack straps. It was very innovative.
It has been sort of a lost art, and that was part of the idea behind the cradleboard project. We wanted to just really revive it because it is an important part of our history and culture. The American Pediatrics Association said that the Native Americans may have invented the Back to Sleep program 1,000 years ago with the cradleboard.
His work is very therapeutic for him. His willingness to share his knowledge and to share his beautiful art with people, it's this reciprocal relationship, I feel, that, you know, all these good things that he shares with other people come back to him.
I have been working with individuals that are interested in making cradleboards on a one-to-one basis, and all I ask is that they buy the materials and they teach somebody else how to make the cradleboard. I'm still learning as much as I can about the culture, and there's a great deal of pride in that. And I try to instill that pride into my children as well.
Well, we're in for a treat in a special way to honor Dad. That little baby is about to come out here and dance for us. He's grown up now. Gavino Limon, his Anishinaabe name is Mackinac, which means turtle. And he's a Frank one in the making. He loves to draw, paint, swim, golf. I believe he's even learning Chinese. With that, we'd love to have Gavino Limon join us.
Now to introduce Sunny Hill and the Longhouse Dancers. Sunny Hill is from the Six Nations up in Canada, right, Sunny? Yeah. And he's a teacher at the Oneida High School, and the dancers that you're about to meet, it's really awesome because they have been dancers under his tutelage, and there's one current young man that is dancing for him still, but they're all are a family and have been traveling together. They've been all in Hawaii, San Diego, all along the East Coast, dancing and sharing their culture with all of us. So it's really incredible to have them here. And we just are so grateful to you all to help us bring this to a closure, this place where we're all going to send it up to the Creator and thank Him for everything and for the blessings for the people. So thank you, Sonny. And that's for everybody, so that the Creator will always bring abundance to our lives. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Oneida Smoke Dancers.
Don't hit that Nan took the money for that. Ni orang handai ko ne gan ni was sawad ni un this energy go what ni un this money ko hanakta. Dawan and you only hunt sway hick ni un ni hoden and go green ni hun da set ni un ni you only want the aga ni un ni yok when jage ni un ni hoden ni hoden shown ni wish you when jage. Ni un ni handai ko ne gan ni go green ni was sawad this had one on you. Ni un ni went to ni gas ni ni when ni should to get you to go. We would like to thank you for this opportunity to come tonight and to share with you. We're wishing you a lot of peace and happiness tonight, and we're hoping that everything that you've seen and you've heard have inspired you to continue with that peacefulness in our minds. The first dance that you heard was what we call Oya Dageha. It was a stomp dance, and it's usually one of the slower songs that we use to kind of warm up. And tonight you see our young men and our young women in our traditional clothing. And the Gastois that we wear, I'll always tell you what nation they're from. The one I have on is got 3 feathers, and that's the Mohawks. And they have 2 up and 1 down, and that's the Oneidas. And today we come to you and we will share with you some of the things that we can. The next song you will hear is what we call Smoke Dance. Smoke Dance has no religious significance. It's a song that we use when we go on to do shows and we're showing about our culture and some of the dances that we have, which we call Ohanja Geka Kunyunya Soha, which is our social dances, songs that we use to have fun, to kind of release that energy from the day's work. So we hope that you enjoy what we have to offer today, and we hope that it will continue to help you, make you happy and peaceful. Thank you.
I'd like to ask our 2014 Community Spirit Award honorees to come forward. Giving the awards from First Peoples Fund are members of the First Peoples Fund Board, and honoring Jody Naranjo Falwell Taripa. Who's going to be first? Sherry? Oh, Ron Martinez Looking Out. For Dr. Anton Troyer, Sherry Sawway Black. For Delbert Smutkum Miller, Lori Poirier. And for Douglas Lamone, Violet Lane. Thank you, Bud. Before we give one one more round of applause for our honorees. I'd like to acknowledge the other First Peoples Fund board members who are here. Kalima Rose, Maria Lopez de Leon, Don Owen, Kelly Lindquist, Teresa Secord. Was that everybody? I think so. Come on up, guys. Stand up. Thank yous. Thank you for everyone for being here. Thank you to our donors and our volunteers, friends of the family, people who were dragged here wondering what you were getting yourselves into. Thank you. I would also finally like to thank all of our performers, including Jen Kreisberg, who we did not formally acknowledge. Jen and her wonderful boots.
I just want to also acknowledge the staff of the First Peoples Fund. They're amazing, amazing people that we couldn't do this without their support and their hard work. Thank you.
So one final round of applause for our 2014 Community Spirit Award. In the lobby for dessert and conversation, and they're going to very carefully make their way down the stairs to beat you to the refreshments. Thank you again for joining us. Good night.